Squid Game is famous for its brutal death matches and sharp social commentary, but beneath the violence lies something far more profound. This isn't just a game about money or survival, it's a spiritual trial, a layered ritual testing the soul's alignment, faith, and willingness to transform. Every number, every player, every symbol, even the games themselves echo ancient spiritual teachings about sacrifice, false prophets, rebirth, and the eternal battle between ego and spirit. Today we're diving deep into the hidden spiritual architecture of Squid Games. From the sacred numerology encoded in player numbers, to the role of false prophets, to the ancient symbolism behind the game. In numerology, numbers aren't just quantities, they're qualities. Each number carries a symbolic vibration. Often, multi-digit numbers are reduced to a single digit by adding their digits together. For example, 120 becomes 1 plus 2 plus 0, which is 3. This gives us a spiritual lens to interpret the players, not by who they are, but what their soul might represent. In numerology, 222 is a powerful number representing balance, harmony, and spiritual alignment. It is often associated with the divine feminine energy, nurturing, protection, and creation. Jun-hee's role as the mother aligns perfectly with this. She embodies quiet strength and intuition, a calm center amid the chaos. Her survival instincts are deeply tied to protecting the unborn child, a symbol of new life and hope. This number invites us to see Jun-hee not just as a participant, but as a spiritual force, a beacon of hope and the potential for rebirth even within a ruthless system. Player 333 represents growth, change, and spiritual awakening. The number 3 repeated thrice amplifies themes of manifestation, creativity, and communication. Yet the father's initial behavior is dominated by greed, rationality, and emotional distance, seemingly at odds with the spiritual invitation in his number. This contrast illustrates a classical spiritual theme. Sometimes our outer selves resist the transformation that our deeper souls demand. The game's harsh trials force him to confront his shadow, the greed and fear to potentially evolve, mirroring the alchemical process of solve et coagula, a Latin phrase meaning to dissolve and coagulate, or simply breaking down in order to build anew. During Season 2's Red Light Green Light, player 444 was shot in the leg, pleading for someone to save him. Guillune and player 120 make a desperate effort, risking their own lives to help. They ultimately save him from the game, but not the rules. But spiritually, they pass. In numerology, the number 444 is a divine sign of protection, angelic presence, and a reminder to trust your path. The man's number was a silent cry for spiritual recognition. Would anyone hear him? And more importantly, would anyone act? Gi-hun and 120 do. Their willingness to risk everything, even in the earliest moments of the game, marks them as souls who listen beyond fear. Even though 444 dies, the gesture reveals something sacred. Compassion doesn't need to succeed to be powerful. It needs to be present. And in that moment, the game tests not physical strength, but spiritual reflex. Do you run from suffering or move towards it? During the jump rope game, the clock shows the sequence 1234, a simple but potent symbol. It represents progression, spiritual steps, and the unfolding of divine order. In many traditions, spiritual awakening is a step-by-step journey, and this sequence reminds players and viewers to stay aligned with the path, even when everything seems chaotic. By season 3, Guillune is still marked player 456, the final number. At first glance, it might seem like he's stuck, but spiritually, 456 isn't a punishment, it's a symbol of his path. The number 4 symbolizes structure and discipline. The number 5 represents transformation through struggle. And the number 6 signifies harmony, compassion, and service to others. Together, 456 represents a soul progressing through trial into alignment. But here's the deeper layer. Guillune chooses to return. He doesn't have to be in the games, but he walks back in. This mirrors the Bodhisattva archetype, which is a spiritually awakened being who delays their own liberation to help others awaken. He wears 456 not as a label, but as a mission, to be the last, because he's looking out for everyone else ahead of him. The shaman figure in Squid Game is a chilling representation of a false prophet. She speaks in divine riddles, leads with passion, and gathers followers, but it's all ego wrapped in ritual. Her sermons promise salvation, yet she sacrifices others to save herself. Spiritually, this echoes real-world examples like leaders who use belief as bait, twisting faith into fear and manipulation. True wisdom isn't loud. It doesn't demand followers. It whispers gently and universally. The game punishes her eventually, not because of her belief, but because she used it to climb while stepping on others. Talk about instant karma. She becomes a warning. Spiritual language without true spirit is dangerous. In season 3, In-ho has become the frontman, removed from the trials. Although Guillune is in his most personal test yet. During the game hide and seek, he's hunting Dae-ho, the man he blames for everything. Guillune carries grief, rage, and the crushing guilt of survival. Dae-ho, frozen by fear during the skirmish in season 2, is a mirror Guillune can't ignore. When they finally clash, Guillune nearly stabs him, but pauses, and Dae-ho confesses that he lied about being a Marine. He only wanted to live, so he thought it would be a good idea to lie his way into Guillune's group. For a moment, there's understanding, but then Dae-ho lashes out, and Guillune's fury erupts. The scuffle between the two unfolds, and eventually Guillune strangles him, which was such a raw, animalistic behavior. This wasn't about Dae-ho, it was a war inside Guillune. It further shows that when Guillune attempted to take his life. A spiritual initiation asking, can you forgive the weak part of yourself, or will you destroy it? The final game is brutal and symbolic, playing on top of a triangle, square, and circle platforms. These shapes represent alchemical unity, mind, body, and spirit. Players must push others off to survive. But Guillune isn't here to win. He's here to protect the baby, serving pure innocence. He risks everything to keep the child alive. In that selfless act, he falls from the platform. Yet through his sacrifice, he rises spiritually, transcending the physical fall. The baby becomes the symbol of a future, not built on blood, but love. This test isn't just about survival. It asks, can you sacrifice your own ego to protect the next generation? Throughout the chaos, the show honors those who resist the loud voices and false promises. The quiet ones, like Jun-hee and Gi-hun, listen to something deeper. They act from love, faith, and sacrifice, rather than fear or greed. Player 120, one of the quietest yet most courageous spirits, stood beside Guillune from the beginning. She helped the rebel squad infiltrate the headquarters, saved Jun-hee and the old mother twice in hide and seek, and was killed just outside their hiding room by player 333. Her number, 120, reduces to 3, which symbolizes divine communication and sacrifice. She dies at the threshold, a guardian between life and death, her mission unfinished, yet complete. After hide and seek, the old mother asks Gi-hun to protect Jun-hee and the baby. She has fulfilled her role of killing her own son to ensure their safety. Spiritually, she's severing karmic blood ties to preserve innocence. Her death isn't despair, it's a passing of maternal duty and faith. These deaths weren't failures, they were soul transitions. Acts of love wrapped in pain. Spirits releasing their final breath to ensure someone else could take another. Player 246 entered the game for his dying child. In numerology, the number 2 represents relationships and emotional sensitivity. The number 4 stands for protection, foundation, and stability. The number 6 signifies compassion, family, and service. Together, 246 reflects a soul path built around love, care, and duty to others. He was spared by Soldier 11, which is proof that love begets mercy, even in the place built for death. The number 11 is considered a master number in numerology. It represents spiritual insight, inner illumination, and soul missions that carry higher responsibility. Soldier 11 helps 246 multiple times and eventually infiltrates the frontman's office, burns the player records, and kills the square officer in the meanwhile. She prepares to end her life, but as she watches Guillune sacrifice himself for the baby, she sees a reflection of true spiritual love. That moment revives her. She remembers her own daughter, left behind in North Korea. Rather than giving into despair, she chooses to live. Her final scene shows her boarding a plane to China to find her child. Her number was never about authority, it was about awakening. In the end, it's not who wins the games that matter, it's who remembers what they are fighting for. Squid Game holds up a mirror to the soul. When stripped of comfort, what remains? Do we follow false prophets and self-interest? Or do we walk the harder path of faith, forgiveness, and love? The answer isn't found in who wins. It's found in who remembers who they are. Behind the blood and masks lies the ultimate truth. This is not a story about death. It's a story about rebirth.